Welcome to WP Coffee Talk. Thank you to our sponsor, Helix Managed WordPress Hosting, for both their sponsorship and hosting our site, WPCoffeeTalk.com. Now on to our episode. Welcome to the next edition of WP Coffee Talk. It is July 4th here in the United States, so it is our Independence Day. And I'm alone in the office because I came here just for the air conditioning and to interview my friend, Kiera Howe. How are you tonight evening? You can tell it's my day off. How are you this evening, Kiera?
I am excellent-ish.
Ish.
It's all good. Just working all day.
And it's hotter than blazes today, isn't it? I know that you're a little ways away from me, a couple hours away, but it's just hot.
It's still hot. We're in the same temperate zone, I think. Yeah. And, you know, it's not a holiday for me. I had my holiday on Monday, so.
That's right. I love that Canada Day and the U.S. Independence Day fall on the same week, so we can kind of like, I'll be like, hey, to all my Canadian friends, and then they're like, hey, to all my American friends, so it's kind of fun. And you still win because you have the better national leader than we do. Hands down. I keep offering to trade you guys, and so far nobody's taken me up on it. I know. It is what it is.
I don't think I have much sway in that whole situation.
But if you did, it would be so nice. So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a software developer. I have my own business called Wiley Solutions, and I'm mostly freelance software developer for WordPress and a bunch of other stuff. I also have a little piece of software called DragonTeach, which I am developing, which is software to help instructors teach WordPress to their students.
And that's pretty exciting, actually.
Yes, and on the personal side, I take photos, I ride a motorcycle, I can sign a little bit.
I've witnessed that before. And I think you do a lot around your yard too. Didn't you build a deck a few years ago? And I know that you're into like gardening and things, maybe?
I didn't build a deck, but my whole backyard I landscaped and put all the stones, and I built a shed.
That's what I must be remembering.
Yeah.
We've been friends on Facebook for a while, so we see what each other does in our lives, and that's kind of fun. So that's really cool. And you are in what part of the world?
I am in Toronto, Canada.
Very good. And I look forward to seeing you at other WordCamps. We've been to a lot of the same WordCamps over the years.
Yes. Well, we're separated by a lake, right? So it's, easy enough to pop around and, see you at Buffalo WordCamp or Rochester or ... Or
exactly. Will you be in Ottawa?
I will not. I'm actually going to WP campus.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's like the week after. It's it's more or less Thursday it starts, or I have to get out there on Thursday. And I figured it was just a little too much to be Ottawa and then back and then flying and then, So.
I can see how that would be a little bit overwhelming in a 2-week period for sure.
Yeah. And plus, I people, I'm an introvert. It's like, I disappear after WordCamp and I kind of hide for a day or two.
Little hibernation never hurt anybody once in a while.
For sure.
I think one of my favorite meals with you was the Sunday brunch that you and I and Shanta did in Philadelphia, where we went for brunch and I had those ginormous Philly cheesesteaks. That was fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't totally remember that. I mean, so much. There's so many WordCamps.
so many brunches over the years too.
Yeah.
So I always ask people, show me your mug. It is like upwards of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know. You guys probably don't measure it in the Fahrenheit.
We're in Celsius.
Yes. So what would it be in Celsius? Are you like around 30, 35?
Right. Yeah, it would probably be 30-ish. Well, it depends if you, it's 27 degrees out, but it feels like 32.
Yeah. So,
in Canadian talk where it's like Celsius.
Right. Exactly. I know we say 32. We're like, man, that's freezing. But, so neither one of us, we talked about this, neither one of us has a mug. It's just too hot for that. So show me your water bottle.
So this is my water bottle. I stuck my dragon to it. Um,
I
it's
love
a
your
soda
dragon.
stream, so it's bubbly.
And I am today, I was in WordCamp Kent last month, and my one of my coworkers was with me there, and he was just enamored by the paper cups at our hotel, which was one of the Hilton hotels. I don't remember which one. Hampton Inn, sorry, Hampton Inn. And so he brought them back, and so this is in honor of Jeff, who's not here right now, but he'll see this later. This is my cup. And I have seltzer water in here as well. So lime flavored. I almost said scented. Lime flavored seltzer water.
Cool.
And it tastes really good today. Okay.
Yeah, well, stay hydrated. Got to stay hydrated in this weather.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very much important in this time of year for sure. So tell us, how did you get started with WordPress? I know you do more than WordPress, but how in particular did you get started with WordPress?
So, it's like everything. There's like sort of the question of, it's a multiple answers to that question of sorts. I had a company which did web hosting for a long time, and I was working with, and this was potentially 10 years ago or more. I had a client who had a website, and it was running WordPress, and they were like, we want to do this or that to this, and I was like, all right. A lot of it was just sort of admin, so it was like getting WordPress and working and getting the databases all set up and stuff. But it's sort of, I've always sort of done a little bit of WordPress, and then really about 5 years ago, I sold that business. 6 years ago, I sold that business, and I moved out into freelancing as a freelance software developer, and WordPress was one of the things that I picked up along there. And Shanta, we both know Shanta, that she's she's very pushy.
I was gonna say persuasive, but
persuasive is good. Persuasive have got less of a negative vibe to that, but yes. So she was like, WordPress, come to the camps, do this, and get it. And so it kind of you'd start jumping into the camps, and you start doing. I started doing more and more with WordPress, and here I am.
I love it. It's wonderful, and you're such a great member of the community, because not only have you developed your own software for teaching, not only have you done, development for other people and things like that, but you have found, excuse me, at least in my opinion, kind of a revolutionary way to take that video from WordCamps and get it produced so much faster than most camps do. So we give you video cards, and you upload them, and then you give the cards back before you've even left the camp. And usually within a week or two, all of that video is already up on WordPress.tv. So I don't know what kind of magic or voodoo you have going over there, but keep up the good work, because holy cow, that was amazing.
It's special developer voodoo stuff. I say I am She-Root, the princess of programmer of power.
I will second that for sure.
Yeah. No, I've written, so that one was written in, I wrote that in Electron.io, which is like a Node offshoot, and it basically takes through the REST API off of the WordCamp website, gets all the titles and everything, and just sort of puts everything together, and you more or less just say, here's the video, and it goes process, and you say, here's the start and end of people talking, and process, and then upload.
It's amazing. And you do it as a volunteer, of course, because that's what WordCamps and WordPress is. And you've saved my rear end a few times by being able to get those things up really quickly, because it would take, it takes a camp itself and the volunteers usually a pretty long time to process through, especially if there's 3 tracks, over a day or 2 days. You're talking about 21 to upwards of 50 videos. So
well, it came from Toronto, which we had 40 videos at the first one. The first Toronto I did, they were like, here, you get to do the videos. I'm like, woohoo, videos. And then there's like 40 of them, and each of them between, you bring them into an editor, you process that, you process them, and you kind of have to wait for it to finish one before you can kind of go on to the next one. And then you know, there's that delay where you didn't notice it was done, and you know, your computer's going nuts, so you don't really want to do it while you're working. And so, and mine will just like one after the other will process the whole lot of them. So it's like, you don't have to really pay too much attention to it. You just start it at night. But that one took so much. It took like, it was like an hour per video or longer to do that one. And then I built my thing. It's like it took me 3 hours, 4 hours to do the videos. And that was really, I don't even know that it took that long. It was just sort of me futzing around with it mostly. So
well, it's brilliant, and you know, hats off to you. And I know you said you're also a photographer, and I've witnessed your photography as well. And you do such amazing photography, and you always bring your camera, or almost always anyway, to WordCamps, and then you put your photos up on Flickr, and you make them available to people to use. And I appreciate that as well, because I've used your photos before in PowerPoints and things like that. So
open source, it's all
exactly.
You know.
I always say we're more than open source software. We're an open source community as well, and I love that about WordPress. So that's pretty awesome.
Open source videos, open source pictures, open source.
I have an open source couch. People sleep on my couch for WordCamp, so you know, I mean, it works.
Shanta will kill me because she tells me to stop talking about the bus. But did I ever tell you about the bus? Open source. So we're speaking of open source things. The bus was, I had this idea to take an old school bus and retrofit it into a WordCamp bus, essentially, that, you know, I could leave from Toronto and pick people up along the way, and it would just be like the party bus, and we just painted like blue, WordPress blue, and you know, cruise down to whatever WordCamp, picking people up along the way, and have like the, you know, a little lodging in the back, like bunk beds in the back, and really comfortable couches up front, and just kind of lounge there and you know, have a good time while driving down. And
oh my gosh, do it! It sounds so much fun.
I even have pictures of, like, I rendered pictures of this, of my plan.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I completely love it. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. It would be like road trips. I drove to WordCamp Kent. It was 2 of us in the car. That was awesome. But you know, usually when I'm driving to a camp, I'm driving all alone. And like, you get bored. I drove to Nashville, Tennessee from Rochester, New York 2 years ago. It's 15 hours in the car each way. And I was like calling my sister, calling my mother. And they're like, I have work to do, Michelle. I can't just sit and talk to you all day.
Yeah.
They're like, my sister's like, I don't have anything else to talk about. So if we're all on a bus, we just have fun. That would be awesome.
Exactly. And we could just like talk tech the entire time, and you know,
right?
Like 15-hour trip would just be gone, and
it would go really fast.
The drivers to bed, and
yeah, that would be fun. I think we should talk about this more.
I would have already done it, but except my driveway is only like 7.5 feet wide. I couldn't fit a school bus in there.
We'll have to find a place to store it in between camps. We can rent it out to other camps. There you go. You never have to store it anywhere.
The add-on to that was to roll up right in front of the venue and have a giant inflatable wapoo on the top that inflates into like this just insanely obscene, like obnoxious looking awesomeness.
That would be pretty cool. In Buffalo one year when they couldn't find a venue, they talked about renting buses and having each session happen on a bus, so that like it's like, okay, it's 11:15, time for the next session. People got off buses, got on other buses. They just kind of drove around the city till the next one. Sounds fun, unless you're, you know, motion sick or something. So you've been working with WordPress and in development and programming quite a while. What's something that you know now that you wish you'd known when you first got started with WordPress?
Oh, difficult questions.
Think of it as advice to somebody starting out. What should they know?
That it can do everything. I mean, it still has, every now and then I mention WordPress to people and they're like, it's just for blogs, right? I'm like, no. And it's like, it really is like, I can make it do anything really at this point. And it's, and, you know, to build a theme and build a plugin, and, you know, to some extent, I could say, you know, I wish I knew sort of the WordPress standards a bit better at the very beginning, because I had some sketchy code that I put into my themes way back when I was first starting out. But uh, all the standards on the codec and stuff, and
yeah, I agree. I think that knowing how much it can do, it's almost overwhelming at first to somebody. Like, it can really do that.
yeah. And being, you know, to build up custom post types, it's really not that difficult to create a brand new thing, right? So, you know, awesomeness.
It is. Well, it might not be that difficult for you, but somebody who's not a developer like myself goes, wow, you did that. I mean, I could talk about custom post types all day long, but I don't know how to make them. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Like everything else in WordPress, there's a plugin for that.
Well, that's true, right? So I have learned about the plugins and how to use them to my advantage.
Yes, I think one of the challenges with sort of the new beginners on WordPress a little bit is that you have like thousands of plugins, and a lot of people approach WordPress and they're like, I want to make it look like this, but I have no development experience, so I grab a bunch of plugins and they kind of make it look like that, but you're still kind of restricted to what you can do with that and how that's gonna, you know, lay out and stuff. And it's I think that's sort of daunting to some extent, is people figuring out how to put everything together so it actually looks like a decent website, and without actually writing your own code, and without like building it with a set of plugins and with a set of themes and with a theme.
Yeah, my favorite thing is to help somebody with their website, and you go into their dashboard and you see like literally 70 plugins, and there's like 10 plugins that do the same thing. Well, I tried that one, didn't work. I tried that one, finally ended up with this one. Well, delete the other ones.
Well, yeah, then you get afraid to delete the other ones, because what if there's data or something, or maybe it's doing something in there or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think there's that search your plugins at the top. If you have to use the search to find your plugin on because you have such a large list there, you have too many plugins.
That's really good advice, actually. You should have as many plugins as it takes to actually accomplish what you have to do. And that's about
For
it.
sure.
So, yeah. Sometimes that's more, sometimes that's less, but yeah, the extras, there's no such thing as an extra plugin. But it would be funny if there was. Just referring back to my questions. Oh, my next question is one of my favorite ones. Thinking back over all the different WordCamps and meetups and things that you've been involved with, what's, as either an audience member or as a speaker, what's something that kind of bubbles up to the top to you as like an inspirational moment or an aha moment, or, you know, feel good or anything like that?
So, I mean, it's always like the hallway track is always the aha moment. Like it's to some extent you're like, that's interesting. Like just talking to people is always
Sure.
get those perspectives. I mean, there's some I had this conversation with somebody the other day that was we were talking about SEO and talking about sort of that sort of thing. And, you know, I'm the developer and I'm like, you know, SEO is too salesy for me. And they were like, yeah, SEO is too developer-y, maybe not in those exact words, but too in the development side of things for me. And it's like, it lands sort of halfway in between. And I get some really interesting sort of insights with SEO just to make things like to better my sites and things that I put together just from like, you know, the SEO talks. I think that's why they're always pretty popular at a WordCamp, and that you know, you listen and it's like, well, do this, don't do that. It's, you know, fascinating moments. I sat in because I sat in on a signer who was at WordPress US 3 years ago, and can't remember, that was Nashville, I think. And you know, she signed and talked, and I signed with her a little bit afterwards. But it's an interesting perspective from an accessibility point of view, where she's talking about, you know, you put a phone number, you ask for a phone number, and it's like, it's just commonplace. You ask for a phone number on a website, but it's like, if you're deaf, how do you, like, that phone number is not really that useful if somebody's gonna call you, and you know, or you may not even have a phone number, right? It's sort of these interesting, you know, accessibility is an interesting thing in that respect, because it's outside of my perspective quite a bit.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, I'm sure her talk's up on WPTV.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Now you've got me thinking, if I put phone numbers on, I should put a box that says text only.
Yeah.
Because that would help change that over a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. No. See, you got me thinking about all kinds of stuff. I know, I love our conversations. It's awesome. The best stuff.
If you can see right here, I have my Wapoo from WPUS. Those are fun.
They are fun. I know. I love those. I have mine. You can't see it. It's just off camera over here to the right, but I've got one on my shelf over here too.
There's actually two of them in my office, up there and up that way. I have a third one around here somewhere.
I have the WordPress pennant that's behind you is up on the wall behind my computer as well. So yeah, it's like we've been to the same places or something, Kiera.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I am intrigued by your DragonTeach. So I want to know more about it. So I want to know, like, what does it do? How do people use it? I want to know how you named it and where you came up with your logo character, because he's adorable. He is adorable. It is adorable. And just tell me more about it.
For sure. So my dragon, this guy, I don't know. I seem to gender him male a lot of the time, but you know, I hadn't really decided. I don't even have a name for him. So
you could have a contest for that. That'd be fun.
Totally do that. But DragonTeach is a piece of software to help instructors teach WordPress to their students. So it's generally, I have clients in colleges here in Canada who use it, and what it does is it gives for on the student side of things, the students get a fully functional web space. So it's a cPanel web space that they can. It's just like, you know, you would get from anywhere, any of the major hosting. I'm not going to name any of them because they're like no free advertising. They need to sponsor you.
That's right. I do have a host that's sponsoring us too.
Yay. Just like that host.
Yes.
So if they're running a 4-month course, they'll get a hosting environment that's full of WordPress. They can install plugins and themes and that sort of thing, which is and they can edit their themes, and they're fully PHP editable. Like they can do if they want to be a development class, they can build their own plugins and themes. If they want to be a marketing class, they can, you know, install, you know, Google Analytics and, you know, that sort of thing. On the instructor side of things, the instructor gets a interface to build a testing system. So they have a class of, say, 40 students. They say to their 40 students, I need you to create a post that has this title, has, you know, this much text in it, whatever, has, you know, 3 images and a link, you know, whatever, and so the instructor can, you know, in a week, they have a test, and they say, well, I want to mark my students and see how many of them actually did this, and they build their test saying it needs to have this, this, and this, and this, and then they press a button, and that test runs through all 40 of their students, says yes, no, yes, no. They get a mark out of 5 or whatever the mark they've programmed into it, and it's like 30 seconds to mark an entire class.
Wow.
So, yeah, which is sort of the power of it.
Yeah, I'm, you know, thinking about how fast you've made things for the teachers, thinking how fast you've made things for the the videos. We're just gonna have to like change your name to like Princess Expedience or something.
Yes. Well, I like the automate. I like my big red buttons. I don't know what happened. We had the Staples button,
Oh, the easy button.
Yeah, the easy button. Oh darn! I said somebody's.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, but I love those big red buttons where you take something that was really complicated and you turn it into, like, you hit the button and it's done, and it just like it makes something functional, super functional. So turns hours into minutes.
That's awesome. So when they set up a classroom for that, is it like a multi-site that the teacher can actually access the student sites as well, or how does that work?
Well, it's not a multi-site. Each student gets their own WordPress site. Mm-hmm. But it's public, like it's a publicly accessible WordPress site. So the instructor can go to the site. The student, I have my stuff in the background that will go through the databases and of each of the students to actually test them on things, but the instructor can read their writings and their posts and stuff like that too. So.
That's awesome. Do you have any restrictions built in to protect like certain things that shouldn't be uploaded or not uploaded, or as far as from deprecated plugins and things like that, or not yet?
Not yet. That's kind of on the roadmap, but it's I have some update scanning, and I have some checksum scanning that runs through so that things don't get hacked and such. So at least I can tell when things go sideways. I mean, each of the student accounts is running as a user of their very own, so it's not like they can't really get, like, even if they get horribly, they horribly destroy their web space, it's not going to affect any of the other other sites on that on the server. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like you've thought of almost everything. I mean, I can't think of anything else anyway. That's awesome. And can they can get anything that's in the repository then, right? So the theme directory, the plugin directory.
Yep. The instructor can set up how they build. So when the student signs up for an account, the instructor has a configuration for their WordPress that gets installed. So they can say, I want to install this theme on my student when my students set up their initial WordPress setup, or they can just not set up a WordPress at all, and the students can do that themselves with like FTP or some crazy other ways of doing it. So it works.
That's exciting. So you've got that already running with some people at some Canadian campuses, and you are going to WP campus, which is, I think, in Portland, Oregon.
Yes. Portland, Oregon.
2 weeks from this weekend. I mean, 2 weeks in. Yeah, 2 weeks from when we are right now. So this will probably air after that, but so it'll be like, hey, how was it? I'm sure it was wonderful. But you're actually sponsoring as well, are you not?
Yes, I'm sponsoring WP Campus.
That's exciting. Do you have a table? Are you going to be able to talk to people, that kind of thing?
No, I don't have a table, but I'll be there, and talking to people like that. Talk is, the hallway track is is where it happens, where everything happens.
and everybody gets a sticker, right? You get a sticker and you get a sticker. You can be the WordPress Oprah handing out stickers to everybody.
You should see the stack of stickers I have.
That's fun. I have one or two of myself in the drawer, so I'll be as soon as I put a new case on my computer, it's going right on the front so people can see it. Be like, what is that? And I'll be like, let me tell you about my friend. That's awesome. And you also still, on the besides running all of that, you're still doing Wiley Solutions, did you say?
Yep. So Wiley Solutions is my business, and then I freelance. So I have a couple of enterprise clients that I build stuff for.
That's pretty exciting too.
I like to say I make stuff do stuff.
Exactly. Well, I work for Give, and I am just in awe of our developers all the time, because I can show our customers how things work, and I can, sell them on how wonderful things are. But I can't, like I said, I'm not the person who said, hey, check this out, I just wrote this and it does some cool stuff. I'm the person that goes like, I'm in awe of all of our developers who do all this cool stuff that I get to then show off to everybody else. So yeah, so hats off to you, Kiera, for all the stuff you do.
So You know what's so funny is when I started writing code when I was like 10 years old. And back then, everybody, you write something like you make a pixel go boom, 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 and people were like, "Oh, wow, look at what you did." And then and now it's just like you have to be like, it has to be this stunning, like super amazing thing, and otherwise people are just like, I've seen that before.
That's easy. I was playing with Barbie dolls at 10 years old, so I was not doing I was making crafts and learning macrame. So we had a little bit of a different upbringing.
Yes, indeed. Well,
but we ended up in the same space, just doing different things, which is still kind of cool, right?
For sure.
Absolutely. Are you ready for my, what I call rapid fire questions?
Sure. The first answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. It's like the ink blots that you're supposed to hold up.
The Rorschach, yeah. So wait, hold on. Scribble. What plugin is that? No. Just kidding. If you were teaching WordPress today to somebody, and I'm sure you've done that, what are 2 or 3 plugins that you would recommend? Either types of plugins or specific names. You can name names here. That you would recommend somebody use on their WordPress website.
Updraft Plus is my favorite backup program. It's and you know, I tell everybody, if you don't have a backup of your site, and you don't have a backup, like that backup is offsite somewhere else, like not on the same server. It has to be like elsewhere. Whether you send it to your house or to whatever, but like it needs to be somewhere off you're tempting fate. And I know, so like there's so many places out there that have no backups at all. So if you're learning, it's like super great to have like a backup, like every day or depending on how much you're learning, every 3 hours.
Well, and
if it explodes, you can just like load her back.
And Updraft Plus is, they do have a pro version, but their free version does almost anything that somebody who's just building their own site would need.
For sure. I use all of my sites, use Updraft to send to S3. So I've got, my entire server backs up to S3. I have my individual sites backing up to S3. I have backups coming out of my ears.
Which is a good thing, definitely, because the white screen of death is scary. And people who don't know how to restore a site through plugins and FTP and things just usually panic and think, and then they make worse steps that actually destroys their site. So, yeah. So what are the other ones?
That's, I could, I don't have a specific, I can't remember what the SSL one, there's a whole pile of them, but there's
the free one is Let's Encrypt is a good free one.
Which one?
Let's Encrypt.
Well, Let's Encrypt is it's for the SSL certificates, right?
Yes, that's not what you meant then.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I use that my server uses that in itself, but I'm more thinking of like the plugin to actually make your site force your site to HTTPS, because without that, you don't want people ending up on your non-secure side of things. But and I can't remember the names. I just keep going back to the last time I used it okay, oh, it's that one. Okay, and just keep using the same one. Important things, SSL for SEO and all that. So, yeah, what I mean, that seems like such a simple one. It's almost not worth mentioning. What else? Do
you have a go-to for forms? What is your forms plugin that you use?
I was using Pirate Forms, but at one point, and then they things went sideways, and contact forms, contact plus, no, forms for something. I used at one point, and then it went like, I don't know what's up with the form plugins, because I keep grabbing one, and then it does, and it works for a while, and then I update it, and all of a sudden, like, things are falling over top of other things, and it's like, are you serious? Like there was one that I couldn't click the checkbox on it because there was actually an element on top of the checkbox. And it's like, this is not from my CSS.
Yeah.
So a lot of my forms I do now are just like, I build them myself. So it's because it's just easier. Ninja Forms was I think Ninja Forms have on DragonTeach right now. And so, or the predecessor, the next version. Anyway, yes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, and Yoast is good if you're all into this SEO stuff.
I know you were saying how you said SEO it's too markety, and the other person was like it's too developy, and I think I mentioned this about something on an earlier episode of WP Coffee Talk, but I know, and I'm older than you, I know that, but do you remember some of the old Reese's Peanut Butter Cups commercials where like one person is roller skating down eating a chocolate bar and another person just happens to be eating peanut butter out of a jar, and like they crashed? It's like, you got your chocolate in my peanut butter, you got your peanut butter on my chocolate. That's SEO.
Yes, exactly.
A little bit of both, and it's a wonderful thing when it's combined. So there you go.
Yes, well, when you do it well, it works. It is a great thing. It's just, but it's a lot. You have to be in SEO like constantly to keep up with all the changes that the search engines and stuff put on. So
yeah.
When I say search engines, really we're talking about Google, because Google is the only one that
yeah, counts. Exactly. And if you don't do it well, outsource it, because it's worth having it done well, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
At any point in your WordPress journey, have you had a mentor that you learned from?
Not really. I'm devoid of mentors, unfortunately. I sort of have these transient people who I learn some stuff from, but a lot of the stuff I learn is just, going online and figuring it out.
Google is my mentor.
Yeah, exactly.
or YouTube, or just the community at large. Yeah, I understand that. There's a lot of self-taught in our community, for sure.
For sure. And I kind of say like the best developers are the self-taught developers, because, we're a bunch of weirdos, but we make awesome stuff.
You do, and you've learned how not to do it as well as how to do it, as opposed to just doing what somebody told you to do. So you know what breaks things even more.
What was really fascinating, and I went back to university for a couple of semesters for computer science, and it was like I kind of like making money rather than going to school. So, maybe that's, but and I learn quicker and better, like without that structure. I actually have better results from just doing it myself, and like having a project and figuring out how to make something work for that. But when I was there, the joke was that if you have a degree in computer science or a master's, that's good, you'll get. But if you have a PhD, you spent so much time just learning the theory that it's hard. It was actually harder at the time to get to some. It's a gross generalization, because it was more of a joke than anything else, because your PhD isn't worth as much in the getting like anywhere outside of academia,
because it's already obsolete.
Yeah, but there's a lot of like data scientists and things that those PhDs are really useful. So but yeah, that was sort of the joke, the computer science jokes that were.
If you have a PhD in computer science, it's pretty much a PhD in electronics archaeology at that point.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's sort of academia in itself is like, because I taught it at a college. We taught WordPress and web design and stuff, and it's interesting how they really force, like they want these. They won't hire anybody unless they have a doctorate. But it's like, how do you get a doctorate in like web design? Like web designers are generally, it's like you learn how to build something pretty, or you learn how to build something functional, and that is so much of the learning process. Is like to do all the theory, it's too much theory almost. Like it's but the academia, you can't get a full-time gig unless you have a doctorate, basically.
That's crazy, huh? Yeah, and academia is like that about a lot of different disciplines, I think, and
yeah,
it's an interesting it's an interesting mechanism, or whatever it is, and it's slow. I always say the wheels of academia turn very slowly.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's all the levels of sort of governance and making it you know, approving things and stuff.
Absolutely. I worked in higher education administration for over 20 years before I left there, and yeah, it was painfully slow in some respects. Who is someone that you admire in the WordPress community, and why?
Oh, who do I admire? I admire everybody who's like out there and putting themselves in the arena. Like I admire you for like the whole podcast. Like you just get everybody together and chat. And like
it's fun. Well, that's my personality, though. I'm an extrovert, so.
Indeed. Like it's just I admire the sort of the people who will take a plugin and they or turn a bit, like make a business out of this, because it's not an easy thing in a lot of cases to build something and then get people to use it. So like your plugin creators, and I mean, I'm so bad with names. It's like we'll get off this call and I'll remember 6 people's names of like, these are the great plugin creators. But it's like, even just to build, you can. I always found when I had my my IT business, I always found that people would generally you can classify them as communicators, like essentially sales and business people, or you can classify them as tech people, and in a lot of cases they don't fall across that between the two of them very well a lot of the time. So you end up, the developers can develop something really neat, and then they don't have the sort of business acumen to turn it into something, or they've built something that has no business value, right? And then on the other side of the business folks, they're like, this is a great idea, we should totally do this. And then it's like, well, then there's the developers, like they're like not sure how to implement at a developmental level. So it's a tricky sort of thing to negotiate.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. There's a lot of amazing people in the community, each for their own right, of course. Absolutely. No, that's great.
For sure.
What's something that you still want to learn in WordPress that you haven't tackled yet?
I would. I'm building some React on WordPress, I have poked at the Gutenberg block set, but I totally want to build, some, a bunch of blocks, get some blocks going. Like I have a few little things that I've built blockwise, but love to learn sort of some of the more deeper things. The REST API I use a lot, but again, it's like I could, there's no end to stuff on that, like the new things that are coming out, and but yeah, Gutenberg's the big thing on the list.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that. So.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I've poked at it. I've done some sort of basic kind of how do I make a block? How do I get this, to go in here? How do I make sub blocks? And it's like, and then I go back to my, my day job, and it's like, I don't have the call to do too many blocks in the stuff that I do day to day. So.
Yeah. So sometimes things just kind of sit on the burner for a while. I get that for sure.
Yeah. And sort of figuring out some of the deeper communication, like, because it's there's so much JS that has sort of come with Gutenberg. It's like there's like all the getting sort of making your JS WordPressy of sorts.
Making it WordPressy. I like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me too how like the web is all starting to look similar. I'll look at a site and think, oh, that's definitely WordPress. And then I look at the source, I'm like, oh, that was not WordPress. Yeah. Or I'll see something and I'm pretty sure I know the theme, and I'll check the source. I'm like, wow, that theme looks just like the other theme. Or yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Well, that that's one of the things I'd love to build a theme that doesn't look like anybody else's theme, but yet actually still looks good. Like I can make a theme look not like anybody else's theme, but
if nobody wants to use it, that's not worth your time.
Exactly. I had this. Have you seen my flying dragon?
No.
Oh, so KieraHowe.com/resume. I have.
You can share your screen, I think.
Here. Yes, I will. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to right in the middle, the bottom. Yep.
Can you see this?
I can, yes.
So this is when a few years back I was writing, I was looking for a full-time gig with a company. So I built this as sort of my resume, and it's you can see as you scroll up and down, it has I move across the screen and I jump on my dragon and I go flying through the fires of employment.
This is awesome.
Which is like, and then the cloud kind of explodes and lands in the spots that are like, hey, look, I'm an expert on this is out of date too, because I think I'm an expert.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a dragon rider. And of course the whales that come up. It was made to get attention, right?
It's adorable.
I totally want to do a WordPress, like a plugin or theme or something that I could generate a page like this and have people like add their sprites to it, like build an actual scrolling, like side scrolling page to the to my
oh, that's great.
To their site, right?
That's awesome. I absolutely adored that. And it was that pre Game of Thrones, before there was the dragon.
You know what? Like I like the How to Train Your Dragon Dragons is my I love those movies, and so a lot of it is they're the cute dragons, right? They're not the ones that will like roast you to death.
Exactly.
So I like them. They're cute.
That was great. Thanks for sharing that. That was awesome. And now we know we can do a screen share, which is also cool too, because I haven't done that yet. So very cool. What's one of the biggest WordPress mistakes you've ever made, and what did you learn from it?
One of my early plugins was I was reading from the databases directly, or I was reading and writing to the databases directly. It's like the first, like very, very back first collection of development that I did. I was like, well, I need to get something out of the database, so let me write a SQL statement, because that was always I have PHP background, and it was like PHP to MySQL, and it's like, oh, no problem. I'll just like create a SQL statement and pull stuff out of the database. And it's I made the realization very quickly that there's like 600 way easier ways to get out like a list of posts from your database. So that was probably a big mistake. But that
learned.
Yeah, that was not a production site anyway, so it's not the new versions were better.
What's your proudest WordPress moment?
I mean, DragonTeach is my sort of pride right now. Is like I basically took WordPress and I automated the creations of WordPress installs into a system that with a server that with an API connection to cPanel that would automatically create users, and automatically, like, the whole thing is like completely automated. And it's took a bit of doing to get it, but it's like, it's pride now.
I am going to be logging in later and take a closer look at it. I gave it a cursory look when you first told me about it, but I'm going to take a deeper look at it because I'm intrigued as well. So, and
Yes.
I'm, really excited about you being able to show it to people over at WP Campus. It'll be very cool.
Indeed, I have DragonTeach.com, which is my little demo site. It has fake data in it and stuff. I can give you a user and password to it. So.
Oh, cool. I'd love to. That'd be a lot of fun to see for sure. If you weren't working in web technologies, what's another career you might like to attempt?
Ooh, I'm such a developer. Like I'd be somewhere in the technology. I feel like I'd be somewhere. I mean, I had an IT business, so I was fixing people's computers for quite a few years. And maybe that would be where I'd still be if I wasn't like a developer, if I wasn't doing WordPress, if I wasn't, I mean, if I didn't get into technology, I'd still probably be doing something very technical. And people mistake technical things all the time. They think it's all computer around, but you can be technical in like sewing is a very technical thing, right? It's and I don't know that sewing would be quite as interesting to me, but because well, maybe. I mean, I used to run network cables. So,
Okay.
maybe I had a career as an electrician or as a network cabling person.
You never know, I guess.
Yeah, like it's,
Lots of possibilities. That's awesome. What's something on your bucket list?
Bucket list. I want to learn to fly a plane.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so become a pilot's license, which I have a friend of mine, and she wants to do that too. So we will probably at some point get that. We'll probably do it together, and I want to get a plane. So I have these. I found this plane. It's a Sea Ray, and it's well, they call it a flying boat to some extent. And it really is. It's just like you land it on the water, but it's got wheels that'll come down, and that's like totally what I want. I want to be able to lift off from anywhere, land anywhere, be able to like fly up to cottage or whatever. And I had this great idea, the Detroit WordCamp. I think it was Detroit. Detroit's got the big river along it. Was to fly. It would be awesome if you come down to fly the plane down, land on the water, just cruise up the river and dock somewhere and come to WordCamp.
That would be cool, actually. Some of my guests have said they want to skydive, and I'm starting to see some possible connections there. Like, I will drop you on the way to where I'm going. You want to go to WordCamp Chicago? Well, I'm headed to Detroit, so it's now. Push.
Yeah, we're over Chicago. You just have to negotiate where you're gonna land. See ya.
Bye. That's funny. Show us or tell us about a hidden talent. So something that a lot of us in the WordPress community might not know you can do.
I mean, I already said I can sign. Like, hi, how are you? I'm not supposed to talk and sign at the same time. That's sort of rudish. But yeah, I can sign. What else?
Do you have a name sign? Have you been given a name sign by somebody in the community?
No, I wish I did.
So my name sign is
oh yeah, with that M.
It's an M with a smile because they say I'm always smiling.
Cool.
That's kind of fun. But I haven't heard your talent yet. So what's your talent?
I don't know. I mean, I ride a motorcycle and I take photos and I sign and.
I mean, that is a lot. That is a lot.
I mean,
we've uncovered them all already as we've gone through this conversation.
Well, I renovate my house. I mean, I just did or just 2 years ago, it's still sort of in a state of construction, but the front porch of my house, I did some stone on, and I've done my backyard's all done. I did myself. So, I mean,
That's pretty cool.
I renovate.
And I don't do that kind of thing. So yes, absolutely. You are a very multi-talented person for sure. How can we find you online? So tell us your websites, tell us your social, anything like that.
So, I mean, KieraHowe.com works. XOWE is my Twitter handle. How else can you contact me?
DragonTeach.com.
DragonTeach.com for sure. Any of the forums on there will come to me.
Now, do you have an Instagram account? I know that you're on Flickr.
My Flickr, I push people to Flickr because, no, I do have an Instagram account, but it's like, I never really look at it. It's just sort of there so I can lurk on my family's images. I mean, the same thing with the Facebook is sort of like, I kind of cruise on there every now and then just to see what's happening. And, Facebook's all advertisements and people posting stuff like news articles, which I don't really, I want to know about you. Tell me about you. Like, so yeah, so I don't really, but yeah, Twitter.
Basically your website is how they can get through to you for sure. That's
for
awesome.
sure.
Great. And I know you've spoken at WordCamps before, so you're probably on WordPress TV as well.
I am. I have at least one thing on WordCamp, WordPress TV. We were on a panel at Buffalo last. It's up on TV too. So, yes, I put it up there, so I know.
I was gonna say, I think I know the person who processed those for us.
Yeah.
So which camp will you be at next? No WP Campus, but are you planning to go to any other WordCamps this year?
Yeah, well, campus, of course. I will be. I will be at Rochester in October.
Oh, October, right? Yep.
I like all around the Lake Ontario, anywhere around there. I'm totally up for that. I mean, St. Catharines is doing a WordCamp, and I don't know when it is, whether it's before or after. I think it's before. I'll probably be there.
Niagara is going to be in Niagara, Canada in October.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Niagara, St. Catharines.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, October 19th.
Is it October 19th? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yes.
Fantastic. I'll be at Montreal this year as well.
Oh yeah. I've never been to the Montreal WordCamp. It's weird because it's like it should be in range of my
it's a bit of a hike. It's about 7-hour drive for me, 6 or 7.
Yeah, well, I can pop on a Porter flight from downtown Toronto and get into downtown Montreal and in like an hour. So
I wish it was that easy for me.
Well, there used to be a Rochester ferry that went across from Toronto to, and then when it unfortunately didn't make it.
It wasn't around long enough for me to even take a ride on it, quite honestly.
It wasn't even around long enough to contemplate thinking about possibly taking a ride on it. So
true. Yeah.
But yeah.
Things in the past, for sure.
So I might make it to Montreal. Depends on, when how ambitious I think I am.
Well, I'm sure I will see you. I'll see you at Rochester at the very least, if not a few others along the way. But thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and to share more about yourself and your projects. I appreciate it so much.
Happy to. It's been awesome.
Thank you. It's been lovely for sure. And I look forward to our next Philly cheesesteak.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today, Kiera, and we'll catch you another time. Have a great night.
Yep. You too. Ciao.
Bye.